I wasn't even sure if it was real at first. I thought it might be some kind of a prank, you know. Actually, I did reach down and touch her hand. That feels like flesh and bone to me.
This is the story of Anna Repkina. Will time travel help in this case? Let's find out. This case takes place in Alsea, Oregon, in an unincorporated community called Benton County. This is a really small area. Only a couple of hundred people live there. Anna was not from this area. She's actually from Moscow, Russia. So how did she end up in Oregon? She was 27 years old at the time and came from a strong family in Russia. She was pretty happy over there. She had a successful career working an office job at IKEA. She was known to be a very friendly person. She had a lot of friends. She also loved animals, especially cats, and she also loved to travel. Right before she came to America, Anna had just gotten out of a relationship with a guy she had been with for 7 years. That is a long time to be with someone, and she was absolutely heartbroken when they broke up. She's in her mid-20s and knew she wanted to have a family, so she felt like she was really set back in life. After she grieved that relationship and was ready to move on, she hopped on a dating site. This is when she came in contact with a 26-year-old man from Oregon in the U.S. named Will Hargrove. When they met, the two of them really hit it off. At first, they just started chatting on the app, then moved their conversation to Facebook and eventually decided to video chat. Will was known as someone who was pretty friendly and always trying to bring out the best in people, according to his friends and family. He was also known for being very personable, very funny, and sarcastic. He had a lot of friends and would always try to push others around him to be the best they could be. He spent a lot of his free time at the local pool hall, where he liked to hang out with friends. He worked as a mechanic at a local car dealership. When Anna and Will started talking, they really connected. One thing they bonded over was rock music, and he really liked that she was into the same music as him. He said he started falling in love with her and began sending her flowers and other small gifts to Russia. They spent a lot of their time talking about bands and concerts, watching live recordings on YouTube, and talking at the same time, almost as if they were the concert together. After a while, they decided that they wanted to meet up in person. So, in December of 2016, Anna decided to book a flight to the United States. However, she had some trouble getting over here because she got a little confused. She tried to book her flight to Portland, Oregon, but instead booked her flight to Portland, Maine, which is on the other side of the country. Imagine how scary that would be, honestly, to fly to the wrong city in a country that you've never been to and not have the person you're supposed to meet up with there once you got there. But eventually, they were able to get her a flight to Oregon, and she went and met up with Will there. She ended up spending 10 days in Oregon with Will, and she really fell for him. He showed her all around Oregon. He took her out to dinner, bought her flowers and other little gifts, and she was really into the lifestyle that she thought she would have if she were to move here permanently or marry him one day. Even though they had only spent about 10 days together in person, at the end of the trip, he proposed to her, and she said yes. So, they were engaged. Will and Anna were adamant that they really were in love with each other. This was not some type of mail-order bride thing. There was no transactional aspect. She truly loved him. He truly loved her, and they wanted to be together. She planned to move to Oregon, and they were going to have this big, fancy wedding. He kept telling her all the nice things they were going to have once she was there, and they could get married, so everything seemed really good. However, there was just one problem. He had another girlfriend, and her name was Michelle Chavez. In 2015, Michelle was 33 years old and married. However, her marriage was a mess. They were sleeping in different beds and were pretty much just roommates, she said. They had 2 kids together, which was pretty much the only reason they were still living under the same roof. Michelle worked as a taxi cab driver, and in 2015, she picked up Will Hargrove from the pool hall. He charmed his way right into her heart, and soon they fell in love. By 2016, Michelle and Will were living together, but not in the way you would think. Will ended up moving in with her and her husband, living in their spare bedroom and paying a small amount of rent. Michelle was so into Will and so desperate for him to come and live with them that she gave him a really good deal on rent. She also gave him her wedding ring to prove that she was eventually going to officially divorce her husband, and he was supposed to hang on to it until they actually got engaged. It's not entirely clear how Michelle's husband felt about all this, and how it was for them all living together under one roof. It is possible that he didn't even know they were together. Maybe he thought Will was just staying there as a friend or as a way to get extra money. After months of them all living together, Will decided that this was just super awkward, and he wanted Michelle to leave her husband so that they could start a new life together. She wasn't doing this, so he started to get really jealous. He decided that the best way to get back at her was to hop onto a dating site and meet some other women, hoping that would speed the process up. This is how he ended up meeting Anna. What's crazy about this is that when Anna came and visited for those 10 days, she actually stayed in the same house as Will, Michelle's ex-husband, and I think their kids were there as well. Because Michelle hadn't left her husband yet and made it official, Will was free to date whoever he wanted. He brought his new girlfriend into the house. At this point, Michelle and Will were pretty much just living together as they were kind of broken up because she wouldn't leave her husband. They were kind of on a break, and he was free to see other people. He brought Anna right to their house. I'm not really sure what Anna felt about all this. I'm sure she thought it was strange, but she didn't know that Michelle and Will had much of a relationship, if anything, still lingering at all. He definitely told Anna that it was over between him and Michelle. While she was there visiting, they hung out in his bedroom pretty much every day, all day, unless they went out and did something or went out to dinner. But they never hung out in the rest of the house. At first, Michelle tried to be really cool about it. I mean, she really couldn't say much because she did the same thing to her husband. Michelle started to get really jealous. Just seeing all the attention that Anna was getting and how happy Will looked really set her off. Once Anna went back to Russia, Michelle told Will that she was not cool with that situation. She said that Anna could never come back and stay there again as a guest. And if she ever did, they would need to find their own place. The next year, Anna came back in March of 2017. When she got there, Michelle was like, "Hell no, you guys are not staying in my house again. You need to find somewhere else to go." So, Anna and Will decided to get their own apartment, so they rented a place in Corvallis, which is a little bit outside of where Michelle lived. Michelle and her husband were in their own house. Will and Anna were staying in an apartment, so they could live their lives separately. But instead, Will decided to immediately start going back to Michelle. He would literally leave Anna in the apartment by herself, go back to Michelle's house, stay the night, do whatever else, and then come back. Michelle was aware of this arrangement, that he was going back and forth, but Anna was not. Over time, Anna figured it out. Most women just start to get the feeling, especially when he's leaving like that. At first, he would tell Anna that he was working or running errands, but eventually, she started to realize that he was cheating on her. It became really obvious when Michelle added Anna on Facebook, and she instantly noticed that Anna had posted a picture of her engagement ring. Will had used Michelle's wedding ring to propose to Anna. This wasn't even a ring that he had bought for Michelle and given to her. Remember, this was the ring that her previous husband had given to her. Will and Michelle never even got engaged, so in a sense, he stole it from her and gave it to Anna. Michelle messaged Anna and told her, "Hey, you're wearing my ring." Anna replied, and of course, Will had told her that this ring was from his grandmother. He had some big story about it being a family heirloom, but it was all made up. Shortly after this, Michelle decided to just tell Anna everything. She was really pissed off at Will, so she told Anna how he had just been going back and forth between the two of them. But at this time, Anna just saw Michelle as a crazy ex-girlfriend because that is what Will was telling her. That she's insane, don't believe anything she says, she's making this all up. So, Anna decided to respond to Michelle and told her to stop being crazy, and this really pissed off Michelle. She responded back and said, "If you think I'm crazy now, just wait." Anna pretty much decided to ignore everything Michelle said. She was supposed to be marrying Will in 3 days, on March 25th, and she decided to move forward with it. On March 25th, the two of them headed to the Oregon coast to get married. Before they left the house, she already had her wedding dress on. On the way to their wedding, Anna and Will stopped at Walmart and picked up some wedding bands for the day. While they were at Walmart, Anna stayed in the car, and Will was on the phone while he was looking at jewelry. There's surveillance video where you can actually see him looking at the rings. And guess who he was on the phone with? Michelle. He wasn't telling her about the rings. There he was, asking her whether or not he could come sleep at her house that night. Michelle claims that while she was talking to him, she had no idea that he was picking out wedding bands and was on the way to his wedding ceremony. So he gets back in the car with the bands, and he and Anna drive to the Oregon coast. When they get to the beach, there is no ceremony. There was nothing set up. Will had done absolutely nothing for their wedding. At the time, Anna did not know this, but Will had been pretending to set up their wedding the entire time. He literally called up some video game stores and pretended to be on the phone with them away from her. Then he would come back over to her and say, "Oh, sorry, honey, the wedding officiant canceled because they're sick." Anna was bummed, but she didn't think that this was Will's fault, even though she had no idea that he never booked a wedding officiant and was literally on the phone with a GameStop. It turns out that he never even applied for a marriage license, so he definitely wasn't planning on marrying her. It was so weird to have her wear her dress and go to the beach and act like they were going to get married, and then nothing was there. But Anna believed him and decided that they would just reschedule. So they hop back in the car and head home. On the way home, she's literally in her wedding dress, and they're in the McDonald's drive-thru. There's surveillance footage where you can see her in the dress in the car. A couple of days after this, Michelle decides that she is going to give Will an ultimatum. He needs to pick between her and Anna. No more back and forth. Will assured Michelle that he was in love with her above anyone else, that they both wanted to be together, and that she should leave her husband. He said he was going to leave Anna, and they could be together starting April 27th. They actually gave themselves this deadline. Those who knew Michelle said that she was really putting the pressure on Will to end the relationship with Anna as soon as possible. He needed to fix it and send her back to Russia, and he told Michelle that he would fix it. There were several occasions where Will said that he was going to send Anna back to Russia, like that night or the next day, and then he just wouldn't follow through. Anna, on the other hand, had no idea that this was happening and still thought they were getting married on the rescheduled date. April 15th comes, and they're getting pretty close to their deadline. Michelle and Will decide to go out on a date night to dinner on that Saturday. That night, around 8 p.m., just as Michelle was getting ready for Will to pick her up, he calls her and says that he can't come because Anna has just shown back up at the apartment. Michelle was very upset when they talked on the phone. She couldn't believe that Anna had come back. She felt like Will just wasn't setting the tone strongly enough that he wanted to end things, which I'm pretty sure he wasn't trying to end things with her at all. In reality, she still thought they were getting married. They get off the phone, and Will sends Michelle a text message that says, "Don't worry, I will have this permanently fixed by 1800 tomorrow." However, Michelle was really pissed off. She kept calling him over and over again to yell at him and talk to him about the situation, but eventually he just turned his phone off. Around 2 a.m. that night, she leaves a voicemail on his phone saying,
"I guess you made your choice. Okay, I'll let you be."
Then, an hour later, around 3 a.m., she leaves another voicemail saying,
"Why? I just want to know why. I'll let you be, but I just want to know why."
The next day was actually Easter, so Michelle went to her mother's house for a big Easter celebration. Meanwhile, back at his apartment, Will is dealing with a car insurance issue. He kept not paying his insurance, and they told him that if he didn't pay by the 16th, he would lose his coverage. While she was celebrating Easter with her family, Will calls her around 4:30 and tells her that he was stuck on the coast, that he had hit a deer, and that he needed help. He needed her to come and pick him up, so Michelle agrees to help him. She leaves her family get together and drives to Alsea. While Will was waiting for her to come, there's footage of him at a local convenience store buying some soda and cigarettes. About an hour later, Michelle shows up. When Michelle gets there, Will tells her that he and Anna had had a really bad argument, that she'd packed up all her stuff and left. Michelle was super happy and relieved that Anna was gone. From what Will said, it sounded like Anna was never coming back. She thought Anna was gone for good. The two of them end up getting in the car and having sex. He then drove her back to the convenience store where her car was and dropped her off, and she goes back to her Easter celebration. When she got there, her family said that she was in a great mood. Will, on the other hand, starts to head home, but on his way home, he makes a few stops. First, he stopped at an ATM at a gas station and pulled $200 out of Anna's bank account. This is really strange, but while he's there, he starts talking to the people working at the gas station and confides in them about how his girlfriend had left him and starts to cry. Then he made another stop at another ATM and pulled another $600 out of Anna's bank account. Around 9 or 9:30, he drove to another bank and deposited $160 of that money into his bank account. He did that so that he could pay the car insurance bill, get his insurance back. But then the next day, April 17th, 2017, a man who was working as a caretaker and walking in a really rural wooded forest area ended up coming across Anna's body. Her body was just lying out in the open on a trail. Whoever left her there didn't really try to conceal her that well, if at all. She was found with one gunshot wound to her head. Investigators came to the scene, and when they got there, they found a bunch of trash at the scene. Personal trash. There was fast food trash, candy wrappers, cigarette butts, and some receipts. Of course, police thought this trash could have already been there, but they also considered that maybe this trash belonged to the person who murdered Anna. While police were processing this crime scene, Will was actually sending text messages to Anna's phone. They said, "Baby, I'm so sorry. Please come home. I need you. Just let me know you're safe." Remember, Will's story is that he and Anna got in a big fight, and that Anna left, and that technically she was missing and wasn't responding to anything he was saying. But then he gets online and starts Googling about time travel. He starts going to random forums on Reddit, seeing if there's any way that he can go back in time and undo this. He actually put out a question on a forum like Yahoo Answers or something and was like, "How do I time travel back to April 16th? I did something bad and I need to fix it." He referred to what he did as a horrible mistake. At one point, he was talking back and forth with people and was clearly distressed. He was on some forum talking about time travel and said that he would literally sell his soul to go back in time. Now, while he's doing all of this, he is blowing a bunch of Anna's money, which wasn't that much, but he's spending all of it on candy, Legos, video games, and other kinds of childish toys. He even texted one of his friends during this time and said, "I'm spending money like I shouldn't be because I'm trying to distract myself." Once the investigators had processed the crime scene, they found out that one of the receipts there was from a KFC. It was from 3 days earlier. The receipt didn't have a name on it, but the KFC restaurant said that there was a car that pulled up on that Friday and that there were 2 purchases made from that car. One purchase was made with a card that came back belonging to someone named Kevin Thomas, and the other purchase was made with cash. So they decided to go find this Kevin Thomas person and talk to him.
Then we're trying to put some pieces together for our case. The garbage we found was, I think, something you bought last week from KFC.
Okay.
Do you know about that?
Yeah, me and my brother go to KFC.
Go to KFC.
On Fridays.
What's your brother's name, Kevin?
Will Hargrove.
As you know now, they found out that Kevin is related to a man named Will Hargrove. As they talked to him, they actually found out that Will is not his real brother. They just call each other brothers because they play at the pool hall. He also told police that Will had asked him to borrow his shotgun a few weeks earlier to go shoot it in the forest and blow off some steam.
Just so he was going to go up and go shooting in the woods and just kind of blow off some steam.
But he never gave it back to him. As far as he knew, Will still had the gun. So, police go to Michelle's house where Will is staying, and Will immediately starts lying to them, saying that he and Michelle had gone on a drive to the Elsie area that day, and that's why his trash was in the area. It was Easter Sunday. She had her Easter gathering, but they just went on this drive. They asked him if he had dropped off any trash anywhere while he was in the area, and he said yes, but he said he dropped it off on the side of the convenience store. It was the same items that they actually found at the crime scene, although he was telling them it was at the convenience store, not on the trail where Anna's body was found.
Drove into Elsie, stopped at the little market there, picked up a pack of cigarettes and drove back.
Did you dump some trash there when you were there?
Yeah, I did. On the side of the building, on the side of the general store.
They asked Will to come in and talk to them at the police station, and he agrees. But before he goes, he sends Michelle a text that says, "Picked you up at your mom's and drove to Elsie General Store and drove back." So, he's obviously telling her what the story is and to go with this. Who knows what's going through Michelle's mind at this time? But it can't. They bring him into the station, and Will starts acting like he barely knew Anna, that they had gone on a few dates, and she was kind of a psycho, so he tried to end things with her as soon as he could. In fact, he said that after a couple of dates, he told her that it just wasn't going to work out, and she needed to accept that, but she wouldn't. Clearly, he was trying to downplay their relationship. He left out the small detail that they were engaged and actually claimed that Anna was so crazy that she pretended they were engaged and posted it on Facebook, which caused all. Will seems pretty confident in his lies, and the police are definitely making it seem like there's not really too much to worry about here, so he's being pretty open until they drop the bomb. Of course, he tries to play it off like he's shocked and has no idea how the trash ended up near Anna's body or that Anna's body was found in the first place. He tries to be shocked about that, but pretty quickly it started to sink in that he was going to need a lawyer. He stops talking to them and requests a lawyer. However, the police decide to go ahead and put him under arrest for the murder of Anna Repkina.
Okay, so William Hargrove, I need you to stand up and put your hand behind your back. You're under arrest for the murder of Anna Repkina.
But after talking to him, they were really curious about Michelle's possible role in all this because this is a love triangle situation. Michelle was brought in for questioning. At first, she really tried to go with Will's story that he had told her to say.
And he picked you up at your mom's house at that time?
He did.
Okay.
He called me. He was going to pick me up, and then he did.
Then police told her that they had arrested Will for the murder of Anna, and Michelle's response was a little off.
I want you to know right now that Will's under arrest for murder.
Okay.
Obviously, when she was just like, okay, the police were really suspicious of her at this point. They were wondering why she wasn't freaking out. Why wasn't she freaking out that the guy she was with possibly murdered this other woman? Or maybe she was freaking out because things were starting to unravel. They just thought her having pretty much no reaction to that was very strange. As they questioned her about that, Michelle said that she was indeed shocked and upset.
How are you not extremely upset right now to know that the person who you were romantically involved with...
I am very upset right now. I'm very upset right now. I don't understand how that can be a person that I have spent the last year and a half with.
On July of 2018, Will is formally indicted for Anna's murder. However, the defense, of course, tried to argue that it could have been Michelle. They're not arguing that it was Michelle. They're just trying to cast enough doubt in the jury's eyes that maybe it wasn't Will because, obviously, it does look kind of bad. Michelle did say that she wanted Anna gone, that she wanted this to be fixed, but she says to this day that she never wanted Anna to be murdered. She had no idea that Will was capable of this, or was even thinking about it. She simply just wanted him to fix it, as in break up with her, make her go back to Russia, in the relationship, not in her life. One thing that they argued was very odd was the fact that Michelle actually ended up with Anna's phone that night. Strangely enough, Will decided to give Michelle Anna's phone and just said to hang on to it. So, when the police came, she was in possession of it, which looked really bad. Also, one thing that was weird was Michelle's phone record showed that she was in the area where Anna's body was found, which is this remote, forested area that she shouldn't be hanging out at. But Michelle claimed that Will had taken her to that spot one time, and she was just in the car. The defense also made the argument that Will loved Anna, that he wouldn't want to kill her, that they were going to be starting their lives together and getting married. But the prosecution argued that all of Will's feelings and how he acted about things were really fake in the first place. Will has a serious history of lying anyway, so they were adamant that he was the one and only killer and that Michelle did not know that he was going to do this. Also, when the shotgun was tested for fingerprints, the only fingerprints that came up were Will's, not Michelle's. They were also able to kind of put a timeline together and track Will's movements throughout the day based on his phone records. They saw that right around 4:45, he was at the spot where Anna's body was found, and that's around the time they think she was dumped there, so it just all added up. It was also argued that all of the trash left at the crime scene belonged to Will, not Michelle. Another piece of evidence that ended up being huge in this case was the surveillance footage from the convenience store. This would have been right after Will had murdered Anna, and they noticed 2 dark spots on his head. They almost looked like moles, but if you compare them to photos from before this time, they're not there. So, these are not any type of mole, birthmark, or freckle. It's possible that this was blood spatter on his head. The trial started in October of 2019, and over 70 people testified. It lasted about a month, and the jury came back finding Will guilty. He was found guilty of first-degree murder, as well as identity theft, and 2 counts of second-degree theft for stealing from her bank account. In January of 2020, Will was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 25 years. Michelle didn't get charged with anything, but this definitely changed her life. She got a ton of scrutiny in her town, and rumors have gone crazy online. It got so bad that in June of 2018, she actually attempted to take her own life. Luckily, she was unsuccessful, but she still feels so guilty to this day. She feels bad that people even think she could have done this. She feels bad about what happened to Anna. She never wanted anything bad to happen to this girl. She said Anna was a nice enough girl, and she just wanted her man back. She wanted them to break up, not for Anna to be murdered. Will is not that smart. That's why he left his trash at the crime scene. If Michelle was involved, she probably wouldn't have made that mistake or would have coached him a little better.
The defendant very nearly got away with this crime. It was his own trash that trade.
There are definitely no charges or anything like that against Michelle. She's an innocent person. As of today, Will is in jail where he belongs. Anna's ashes were sent back to Russia. It's terribly sad what happened to her. I don't think she saw this coming at all. Will has filed an appeal, but it's not going to go anywhere with that, though he's trying. Please like and subscribe to our channel. Let us know your thoughts on this case. Until next time, please be safe out there and take care of yourself and others.